Hello and welcome to a video from filmsbychris.com. That's Chris with a K. I'm Chris with a K. Today we're going to be looking at, messing with Android and its default shell through ADB. We will be needing to be root, so if you haven't rooted your device, go ahead and pause this video and go root it. The reason we need root is because to access your own information on an Android device, you need to be root. It's just silly, but that's how it works. So on the left side of the screen here, I am connected through USB to the default Android shell, and I am now going to SU to become root. So now I'm root. On the right, we're looking at the screen of the phone, and we're at my website. So right now, if I go to my home screen here, you can see I have Brave installed. And we're going to be, the point of this video is actually just to show you the idea on how you find some information you might be looking for, just using basic tools. But also, in the end, we're going to dump a list of web apps that we have on our device, the name of them and the URL. So right now I have this web app right here. You can see it has the icon on my website, and it even gives you the little Brave icon there to let you know it's a web app. When I click it, it opens up full screen like an application, but it's actually just my web page. What we want to do is create a few of those and find out where they are. So let's go back, and if I go into Brave here and I click on my little menu here, I'll go down to games, I'll pick another URL from my website, I'll do my Space Attack game here, and I'm going to say in the menu, add to home screen. I'm going to install it so it's like a web app instead of just a link in the browser. Install, add to home screen. Now I want to find those. Over here on the left, in my shell, for your applications on an Android device, you're going to go into data/data. Why data? Because the people who designed Android are just bad at naming files and directories. But in here, if we list out, it will list all your applications, and this is the data for each application. We're going to go into here, and let's go ahead and clear the screen, cd into, and for this, it's going to be not / but com.brave.browser. Now we're in a directory. Everything for the Brave browser, all the settings and stuff are in this directory. If we list it out, you'll see that there's a number of directories, and these will look similar for most applications. Lots of times when you're trying to find information from an application, it's going to be in this database folder. So if we go into databases and we list, we see there's some databases here, and we can search through that, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's not what we're looking for in this particular example. So let's go ahead and move back out. Again, we want to find where we're storing the information for these icons on the desktop, right? And you can have a whole bunch of them, and this is just like to create a list so you can have a backup of all your icons on your desktop, because pulling information from certain apps is difficult. If you try to do, there is an ADB command to back up settings for applications. I'm pretty sure Brave, the developer of an application, has an option to block that, right? So again, we want to just get a list of all our icons here. So we can start grepping and looking through for files. Real quick, I'm going to change what my prompt here is just to make it look a little cleaner, give us a little more room to work with, but we're still in this directory, data com.brave.browser. Now, let's go back into our browser here, and one of the things you can do when you're looking for an application, something that you've changed, so if you change a setting in an application and you're trying to find where that's stored, well, you can use the find command to look for things that have changed in the last minute, right? That'd be a great way to do it. So I'm going to use the find command, but first let's type out the find command. We're going to say find, and we'll be in the current directory, and usually it's going to be a DB file or an XML file. Those are two things, a database file, which is usually a MySQL file, or an XML file, which is just plain text with tags. So we can say -name, and we can look for .db, and we can list those out. So there's a few databases in here, and if we do XML, it will list out a few. And right away, we kind of see, if we're really paying attention, this says web app. Good chances we're looking for, but you might get a bunch of XML files. So if we really want to look, we can do this. We can add to that -mmin-1. That means look for files that have been modified in the last minute. We do that, and we can see that, oh, we have one that's been changed. But let's go ahead. Let's clear the screen, get that command ready, and what we're going to do is we're going to say file, or actually let's find another URL to add. We'll do Cybergriffin this time. Again, just a game I created. This is the website for it. We're going to say add to home screen. Just a minute. Install, add to screen, run this command, and you can see in the last minute, these are the files that have been changed. And again, we're seeing one called web app. So we're just kind of deducing what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and go into this. And I would run this command with XML and then also DB. And then if that doesn't work, then just search all files that have modified in the last minute. But if you do that, you'll probably get a lot because the browser is probably doing a lot of stuff. Oh, gotta get rid of the dash name. So if we just look at stuff that's modified in the last minute, there's a lot of stuff that's been modified in the last minute, you know, caching of the website and all that stuff in history. But as we did that, we can see that there's a shared preferences, right? We're going to this directory listed out. We can see there's 3 web apps. Well, we've added 3 web apps. So just to confirm, let's go ahead and grep, and we know that these all have the Films by Chris URL in there. So we will search through all the XML files in this directory for Films by Chris, and we can see right here, there's Cybergriffin, 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 Space Attack 2. Let's go ahead and, well, open up one of those files. So we'll grab this one that says web app here, and check, see, you either have Vim or Vi installed on your Android device by default. If not, you can cat it out. Oops, I just went into a file called clear. I want to clear the screen and then Vim into this file. I'm also going to make this full screen just to make it easier to read. And you can see in here, right away, very easy to read, an XML file. You can see that the icon is saved as base64. So the icon on the desktop and also the splash screen is actually saved into this XML file as base64. If you don't understand what base64 is, I've done a few videos on it. Go to my website and just search base64 and I'll explain how to encode and decode. But you can take this, run it through base64 and get the icon, you know, as a PNG or whatever type of file it is. Let's go ahead and just search URL, right? Oh, look, we have the URL. This is the URL for my website. And then also we can see right here that the name of the website is Films by Chris. It's listed here as name and also short name. Now, if we were to grep for name, we'll get a bunch of things like this. But if we grep for short name, we should get just this line. So let's go ahead, exit out. Let's go ahead and take that file, and we're going to run grep on it. Grep, and then we will search for URL from that file. Look at that. We get the tag for our URL. And if I was to change it to, say, short_name, we'll get the name. Now, we still have the tags. So we want to remove the tags. So we're going to do this. Well, first of all, let's say we want to get both those things, right? So we get name, the URL, and the short name. The way we can do that is -e, URL, -e, short name. That means it's going to look for both these lines in that file. So there, now we have the URL and we have the short name. But again, we want to get rid of the tags. So we're going to put this into sed. Again, all these tools should be built into your device already, available on your device already. And we are going to do this. This is the command. If you forget this, one there's going to be a link in the description to the notes on all of this that you can just copy and paste. But all I did was I searched for sed remove HTML tags. Technically, this is XML, but it's the same concept. So if you want to remove tags from a file, that's it. If we do that, we get the URL and the name. Now, we can run this not just on this file, but we can look at all web app _ XML files. And there we go. We have the URL, the name, the URL, the name, the URL, the name. But it also gives the name of each of the file. We don't want that, so we can add to our grep command, -h, is just saying don't display the file name. Boom, perfect. The only other thing I would add to this is I think it would look better if it said the name and then the URL, the name and then the URL. And all we have to do is use the tack command. We know what cat is. Well, tack is just cat backwards, so it's going to flip the file upside down. So now we have our file name, or our web app name and the URL, the web app name and the URL. So you can run this script and dump all the links. So you could have 100 web apps on your home screen, and then you can just dump them all like this if you just want to have a log of them, or maybe write a script to regenerate them and put them on another device. Now, putting them on another device, this is not just getting it from Brave, but also your home screen, which brings me to another point I want to point out real quick. So let's say I was to take this one and remove it. So I just removed the Space Attack one. Well, if I run this command again, you can see that Space Attack is there because it's still in this XML. It's still in the Brave browser settings. We just removed it from our home screen. So even if you remove the icons from your home screen, I don't know how long, if they'll ever be removed from Brave, but they'll still be listed here. And if I was to add another one, so let's say I went back into Brave browser and I was to add to home screen, install. So I'm adding CyberGriffin again. And now I run this command again that we've created. You'll see that it has Space Attack, but then it has CyberGriffin in here twice. Because again, your home screen and Brave are two different applications. So I just added it again to Brave, but not the home screen. So that's something to keep in mind. And as far as getting the icons on your home screen, well, it might vary depending on what home screen your launcher, what launcher you use. So things to think about that you're working with separate applications here. But I hope that you learned something here on how to, deduce how to look for files. And I do this quite often because on Android devices, because you try to Google something like this, it's hard to find anybody who knows how to do it because everyone's like, install this app, install that app. It's like, no, I just want to do this from the shell using a basic shell script. And not enough people do that. There's not a lot of information out there. But if you know, again, let me make this a little bit bigger. And clear the screen. If we go into data, and again, to read anything in this directory, you're going to have to be a root user, so have your device rooted, no reason not to do that. We're going to list out this, and again, you know that all your applications, their data is stored in here, so if you're looking for a certain thing, you can go through here. If I was to come through here, I don't know, I'm trying to think of, this is a test phone, so there's not a lot installed. Like this, if I wanted to, something about my desktop clock, I can move into that directory. Maybe I want to back up my timers and alarms or something. It might be in here, so you can list out in here different things. And again, a good place to start is the databases. There's no database in this one, but again, there's probably nothing set on this clock because it's a test phone. Also, if you were to, let's actually move out of here and do find dash name, and I'll look for some database files, right? In all the, I don't do that like that. So, okay, so let's say I did want to go into my Chrome or my Brave browser, right? So let's go back into Brave browser just because that's a good example because I've been using it, and we go into database. There's a database in here, right? Now, MySQL is probably installed on the device, not MySQL, but SQLite. See, it is installed because it's kind of needed. So you could use that, but if you don't understand SQL commands, and you just want to be able to search this file with grep, most of what's inside a SQL database, a SQLite database, is just plain strings. So what you could do is you could do strings, give it that database. Oh, is that a database file? It doesn't say .database file. Well, it just says data. So I messed up my search here. If this was a MySQL file, let's go back. I messed up, but again, this is all trial and error. Find dash iname. I said .db, didn't I? It said, oh, capital D. Okay. Let's go back into this directory. Okay, so it's, in this particular case, we're going into the Brave, Chrome app, default. Come in here, list, there's a database here. We can determine that. Not only does it say DB, but if I give it the file name here, it's going to, again, tell me it's just data, but it's probably a MySQL file, usually. I'm getting off track here with but let's just do strings on it, because that's what I wanted to show. Okay, you can see that it is a SQL database, and there's strings in here. All the fields in here, there's not much in here. You could use strings to look through here. Also grep with -a, because if I try to grep for something in here, so let's say I'm looking for mmap from this database file, it's going to say, oh, it's a binary match. You can either string into grep, or you should be able to say grep-a saying just search for ASCII characters, and there you will get information as well. So that's two ways to do it. I think sometimes the strings output looks a little bit better, so I'll put that into grep, and then I say mmap. Yeah, you can see that's a little bit cleaner than what was up here. I think it does the line breaks a little bit better. So those are ways, even if you don't know SQL or SQL database stuff, you could still use your standard tools like grep and awk and sed. Just put it through strings first, and you might be able to find the information you want. Anyway, again, this is all about learning, picking apart, trying to figure out how to do things that just take basic shell commands that you already know and apply them to an area that you may not be familiar with, an Android device that there's not a lot of information out there on, because most people don't seem to be doing it this way. And I personally much rather write a script again and then install a app that I'm unfamiliar with the developer or where it comes from or what they're doing, and could be doing anything, right? So I hope you found this video useful. I hope you found it interesting. I'm sure most people found it boring, but I'm sure there's a handful of you out there that like this sort of stuff. If you do, comment below, let me know what you think, and I hope that you have a great day. Again, links in the description to the notes on what we did today.